All right, guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton. Sihon, welcome to The Truth Matters. I'm super excited about this one. This has been kind of like a brewing, ongoing thing. I've been like eyeballing this girl for a little while, kind of like stalking her a little bit, listening to her music, really enjoying her vibe, and I'm just appreciating who she is and her essence. And so I'm really excited to have Miss Chloe Caroline with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Appreciate the stalking.
Awesome. Well, I have a couple announcements before we get going. I just want to remind everybody to please help us out. Algorithms mean everything. So all the likes, all the loves, all the shares, all the comments, everything helps us to get the message of truth and love and just revealing things and encouraging and inspiring other people. So if you are inspired in any way or you get a yes to share or comment, please do. You can also go to drsharnel.com. I have some great books and resources there, online classes. It has all of our previous shows, all our upcoming shows. You can get on the newsletter. And that is about it for announcements. But without further ado, the reason why I actually found you in the first place, Chloe, is because of your song Manifestation.
Yes, manifest.
Yes. And so, for those of you who are watching that are not familiar with Chloe or her music or her work or service in this realm of what we are doing here on Life, I would love for you guys to get a little snapshot of who she is, what she's doing, her work. And so I'm just going to ask you, Chloe, and jump right in. Like, tell us a little bit about you. Let everybody know a little bit of who you are and just get a sneak peek of that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I was born and raised in Southern California and grew up in a very musical household. My dad was in bands his whole life and very much like in that world. And so he was always introducing me to all sorts of music, everything from, Frank Sinatra to Fleetwood Mac, and then I grew up in the same time as like Avril Lavigne and Michelle Branch, Gavin DeGraw, and all those those icons. And Dolly Parton, can't forget about her. So I really grew up in this place that was very much like a melting pot in itself. Lots of different cultures here, obviously, even different scenery, nevertheless different music, and so I kind of became, I feel like, this melting pot. And even just like as a kid, never really like having one group of friends. I was always like a floater. I had friends in a billion different groups, kind of found myself in a bunch of different people, which I think has influenced my music because I feel like I can relate to a lot of different kinds of humans. And that was kind of that's always been my goal, is to make sure that no one feels alone. I got really sick as a kid, and I've been singing and writing since I was 6. But when I was 11, I was dealing with a life-threatening illness, got pulled out of school, almost died. And for me, music became my vehicle to heal. It was just something that I felt very called to do, and I taught myself guitar on YouTube, and I had been playing piano for a number of years, but wanted to learn guitar, and I channeled it through poetry, and creative writing was always my strength too. Like I wrote like little novels as a kid, and I just loved storytelling, and for me, so it became very therapeutic. And I had a teacher in 7th grade too that kind of, his whole thing was like, free write, just whatever comes to mind, write it out. And so that's where I really began channeling what I was going through, and in turn, of course, turned even more so to poetry and in music, and started posting on Facebook. And finally, for the first time, people kind of realized that I did, what I did. I wasn't the kid who was like singing at state fairs. Like I did like the occasional, I would do the talent show every year, and I would do like a piano recital, but like I was very bubbly with friends, but not necessarily like I want to be the center of attention when it came to singing. I wasn't that confident in it yet. And so Facebook gave me kind of that opportunity, to be honest, because I was like, oh, I can just put it online, even though it's like, it actually is a really bold thing to do. Now looking back, like I look at some of these videos and I'm like, damn girl, you were fearless. um, but anyways, I started going to school. I got such positive responses from people being like, I relate to your music. And for the first time, it was like, oh, this isn't for just for me. Like, this is for other people. Like, wow, like people actually connect to this stuff. Like, and that was just the coolest feeling in the world. And I was like, I gotta do it. And kind of kept writing, kept putting music out there, and eventually went to Nashville when I graduated high school. And that was the first time I was surrounded by kids that did what I did, which was really cool. And it kind of catapulted from there. I could keep going. I have a very long story, but
yeah. No, I love every minute of this. Keep going.
Yeah. So
Nashville, I mean, gosh, songwriters all over was that like did it ignite you even more to go for it, or did you kind of feel like, oh my God, there's so many of us, nobody needs, because I've heard both.
That's a really good point. At first, so I went to Belmont University.
Did you really? Oh my God, what a great school!
It's an awesome school. It's an awesome school, and I really wanted to go to college at that time, even though I was, and obviously be in a place where I could also develop my career. I studied music business and wanted to really know the ins and outs of that. Even though I had grown up around that to a degree, like I really wanted to get involved even further. And so it was interesting. Like Nashville at first shell shocked me, coming from the beach and growing up in this little beach bubble that, even though I lived in LA, like it really was a bubble, a very safe little beach bubble. And Nashville's very different than that. And going to private school, and I had gone to public school for most of my life, and my one experience at private school is awful. So, finally being back in a private college and really small classes, and just like kind of having a similar high school vibe was definitely interesting at first. And I feel like it was definitely interesting. But when I started interning at publishing companies, and I worked at Sun Records, that was my first job. And so like Elvis Presley and stuff like that. And being, around like this iconic music, and these people and these teams that were making it happen was really, really cool. And slowly but surely writing with other people, because I'd been writing by myself for my whole life, basically, was a really cool experience too, because it was people that took chances on me that were much older than me, and maybe even did, a completely different genre than I did, and then people my age. And I mean, I was writing with people, literally, that had like #1 hits, and then people that had never released a song in their life. So it was like constantly getting, this kind of this lesson in how to be a better songwriter by just like throwing myself into it and playing shows. Even though at first it was very much just like, all right, here's a little guitar, me and my guitar gig, you know what I mean? But and then started recording a lot in the studio, which was so fun, and something that it's like one of my favorite parts of what I do. And building my fan base online as well. That was kind of my goal when I moved there. It was like, all right, yes, I'm surrounded by the music industry, but my goal is to reach people, like as many people as I can globally. And social media is a way to help me do that at first, right? And kind of began my journey there, which kicked off a lot for me.
It takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, whether you really realize it or not. There's so many people I have experienced that are in this like job, kind of 9 to 5, working at a bank or whatever, and just like don't have the means to shift gears. Maybe they have a family or,
Right.
made some other choices that kind of like hindered those paths.
Yeah.
Or just were fearful to even do it
Yeah.
in the first place.
Mhm.
And like, what would you say to people, like, did how did you have that in you? Like
Mhm.
what like ignited you or like
Yeah.
charged you to just like jump off the cliff and go for it?
Mhm. So, like I said, I was pretty shy at first. When I was, 12 years old, and that's not super unusual, but I did know it was what I wanted to do. I mean, even in third grade, like our teacher asked us, like, what do you want to be? And like I drew a picture of a singer, and like it was just like kind of this innate knowing, but I also, remember writing it down about how like scared I was of failure. Basically, I was like, what if people laugh? What if I mess up? And but I do remember in that same sort of diary entry being like, well, one day I hope to break through that. And I think just like it was something that I knew I was going to do. I had to like continue to break the comfort zone. And so yeah, it was forcing myself in a way to put myself in situations that scared me. So, whether it started with Facebook and then doing the talent show with my friend and us singing together, and then me finally doing a show by myself and playing my first show with just me and a guitar, or, like constantly trying to like do something that was a little bit scarier each time. And I think that helped. But also, when I realized that people connected to my music, that was like kind of there was just something in me that like went off. It was like, all right, if you don't do this, no one is going to feel that way. Not that other people don't make music and that they could relate to it to other people's great, but like the fact is they're relating to mine. And that is so cool. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna regret it for the rest of my life. And I even knew that at like 18 years old if I don't try it. And also, because there was a point too where I was fascinated by medical stuff because I had been sick. And and so I thought, well, maybe I'll become a doctor or a psychologist or even just like a writer, like write books or something. Because I love creative writing in general. But yeah, I just kind of was like, I'm doing this. It's the first thing I want to do when I get home after cheer practice or whatever, wherever I am. It's the first thing I do. I would do it for free, and so that's got to mean something, you know. And yeah, I kind of was like, I gotta keep going. And obviously, the more you put out there, and the more positive reinforcement that you get from people, and affirmation, it doesn't hurt either. you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my thing. It's just you got to keep taking those risks, but it's hard. It's not easy, and I still have to remind myself of that every day.
Well, yeah, and speaking of like the affirmations and the
Mhm,
positive, like especially with online, oh my gosh, there's
mhm.
like the other part of that, which is
Wow.
like the rejection and the
Mhm.
trolls and like just the mean-spirited people that are like, dude, do you have like a life or anything? Like you just
Yeah.
go around on people's pages and just
Be
post
mean.
and I don't know if you've ever experienced that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, but
Mhm,
I was just talking about this on a show yesterday where someone was interviewing me,
mhm.
and it's like, for me, I can't, like, my mind doesn't work like that to just like, oh, I'm bored. I'm going to go look on
Yeah.
people's thing and go on
Yeah.
their platform, which to me is like a home, like your space. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna go to their space and like
Be
talk shit
rude.
about them or
Yeah.
like tell them how ugly they are or tell them
Mhm.
that they're stupid or they're wrong. It's like that doesn't like jive with me, and it's so funny because again, I see this like I know some people will go like, oh, but you're public and
Mhm,
you
mhm.
put yourself out there, so this is a free
Right.
for all. Like you should be able to take the good with the bad, and I get all that too, but in reality, like no
Mhm.
one would really come to your house, knock on the door, and tell you some of the stuff that people write sometimes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, so I started calling people, like if
Yeah.
they would like post something,
Yeah.
there's that little button in the corner with the phone,
Yeah.
and I would actually call them,
Yeah.
not to confront them or
Yeah.
be a bitch or anything, but I would just be like, "Hey, I saw your comment and I'd love to talk to you about it."
Yeah.
And they would not answer the phone, and then I would even like try again, and I'd even post like a little DM and just go, "Hey, I tried to call you a couple times. I saw your comment. I'd love to chat with you." And no one ever has called me back but like 3 people out of 100. Like, and the people who called back, we were able to have like a really beautiful conversation,
Wow.
and kind of like in some ways agree, in some
Mhm.
ways disagree, or maybe it was a lesson for everybody and I could
Wow.
kind of see both sides or whatever. But for the most part, those people are freaking chicken shit to actually have a conversation face to face, like even
Yeah.
over the phone.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you deal with like
Mhm.
ignorant?
That
I mean, I don't call them dummies, you know what I mean? I'm just like, but I'm ignorant in the sense of the real sense of they just don't know what they don't know,
Mhm.
or they don't understand, or, you
Yeah.
know, so how do you handle that? Because I'm
Mhm.
sure you get some of that. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of, yeah, good job too.
Yeah. No, and I've been very fortunate that the trolls are few and far between, but I have definitely had my share of that, and they're just really weird people. But a lot of times, I mean, it's not easy, but of course, like I try to remind myself, like anybody who's willing to like just do that so willy-nilly and just throw that up there, like is clearly, it's not coming from a place of love, and therefore they're not feeling loved, or they're feeling insecure, or you don't hurt people like that unless it's something to do with yourself. You don't. Anybody who's like actually confident or whatever, is everything's, things are going well in their life, does not feel the need to like drag down another person. Even like literally, like if you are jealous of somebody, there's a reason you're feeling that jealousy, because you are feeling like for whatever reason you're not up to par or whatever it is. You feel threatened, and why do you feel threatened? And you could literally dig so deep into that. And so I try to remind myself of that, and I try to respond with like the only thing I have control over is my response or lack thereof. And so, I've had situations where I try to just respond with kindness and be like, like maybe call them out to a degree and be like, that hurt or whatever, but maybe even not, because that still gives them some sort of satisfaction. But kind of just be like, all right, well, like, thanks for being here, sending you love. And sometimes I've been really surprised because people are like, oh wow, well, I didn't think you'd respond, so that's why I said that. I love you, I'm actually your biggest fan, like crazy shit. And you're just like, what? Like, you just wanted attention. And there you go, though. There you go. You wanted
Wow,
attention.
attention. I didn't
And
think
they were,
about
it's
that.
like that
Attention.
desperate need for somebody's connection. And I think ultimately that's what is always tends to
Dude,
be missing. It's connection. Yeah, it's
my
connection.
mind is like, whoa, that is huge for me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. But yeah, like the
Attention.
connection
I did
and
not see that. That
yeah.
is like really a
And someone
great.
to hear them, right? Even if it's like they'll say anything. It's just somebody to be like, oh, me, pay attention to me. I have a voice, and there could be, so it could be super deep rooted, or it could be not deep rooted at all. But for the most part, it's always comes back down to, yeah, seeking some sort of validation or love or connection. And so, yeah, trying to respond to those people that way. Sometimes that works, sometimes that does not work, and they're just still really mean. And then at that point, you have to make a decision. And I've made decisions where I've had to block or delete comments because it's just not serving me and it's not serving the people around me. And not to say that like people can't have an opinion that doesn't agree with mine. I mean, that's what makes the world go round, and that's what makes art go round. And so there are people that aren't necessarily going to dig my music or whatever, or even dig me. But you can also like not like a song or something, or what somebody's saying, and still respect them. Um,
Yes.
I mean, Yeah, definitely. So you can get it. I get it. Oh, I don't necessarily like it. It's not really like my vibe, or I can't relate to it, but I understand it. I get why other people like it, and I'm not going to like knock that down. And so, if someone writes something that they actually have like a point in an opinion that's not necessarily hurtful, but just might be a different perspective, like I'm always open to that. That's, what I mean. I don't want to delete that from the world because that could start a conversation.
True.
But yeah, the hate, it makes me sad. And honestly, I've tried to spin it every time I see something like that into like, you know what, they're looking for love. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, it makes me sad. It makes me sad, honestly, not necessarily, I mean, to a degree, yes, of course, your ego is always like a little bit shut down, or whatever. But it makes me sad for them. And so being able to even like, when I see it and at first it hits the ego, being like, oh, all right, Cholé, no, turn this around. Be sad for them that they felt the need to do that. And move on. Send them love and move on. Don't let them have the power, because they always will. If you let them, it's a total decision that you have to make, and that goes with real life bullies too, not just online, and people that are not serving you, and being able to like learn how to walk away from those relationships or friendships, and yeah, do it for you. And it's not easy. I struggled with boundaries for a long time. I still do to a degree, but I've gotten a lot better at it because it's if it's not elevating my life in some way, or it can be like a growing lesson relationship, it's like, why? There's just too many awesome people there's in the world. It's just, why? You know what I mean? Why would you keep that there? So yeah, if that helps at all, that would be my my advice.
Yeah, I think just one of my opportunities, I'll say,
Mhm.
is like I could have like 100 people who are
Mhm.
all like, yay, or
Yeah.
good job, or that's so nice. And then like two people say something stupid or just like whatever. And it's like my focus is there instead of like
Yeah.
the broad, and I don't know if that's just human or my own issue or,
I think
whatever.
it's human. I think it's absolutely human. I don't think, and there's a reason that celebrities, even like, people like Taylor Swift, and so, like, you get to a point where if you start reading your comments, you're going to go down a really dark and deep hole. It's just not good for you anymore, because obviously the more people that you're reaching, the more people that are hurt and whatever,
Yeah.
that want attention because you have more attention are out there. And so, yeah, no, I do think it's like a completely normal thing for our brains to seek that out, because we want people to like us, we want people to understand us. That's like my biggest thing is like, and I've always, I guess, struggled with it, is like wanting to feel understood, or like my intentions to be understood, or my original intention with my music. This is what I meant by this song, and I want you to really like get that. And it's like, okay, but Chloe, like, so you can't control how people receive that. I can do my best to like kind of, to put it out there and try to explain, but also like realizing that like the people that are meant to align with you, just like we've aligned, are going to naturally be attracted to you. It's not a forced connection, and those are the people you want anyways. But that's also hard because it's like you said, you had an amazing conversation with those three people, and you guys realized that at the end of the day, like, there was an understanding, and I think there always is, but it's just kind of deciding whether to put the effort in. And I always, like, my instinct, like yours, is to like want to convince the person to like
Yeah.
to like me, or to understand me, or to realize that we're not that different at all, because that it tends to be the truth. um but yeah, it's just how much energy is it taking away from you, and is it worth it? I don't know.
Yes.
It
That
just
is a
it
great.
depends.
Yeah, because it can be like an energy leak,
Yeah.
just like other things, distractions and stuff. And it's like, okay, is this taking away from my
Hmm.
focus, my mission, my purpose,
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know, like I mentioned the manifestation thing.
Yeah.
Like how much is in Belmont, is that a Christian school or something
It
like?
is.
So
Hmm.
what is your spirituality? Like how
Hmm.
does that play into not only your own life, but also in
Yeah.
your work?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was like raised Christian and still am, but I've always been, I feel like at heart even more so like a spiritual person. For me, they go hand in hand, like 100%. But when I was, let's see, like it was 2018, 2019, I kind of had like reached a very low point in my relationship, and very like serious like 5-year relationship, and dealing with a lot of like his mental health, and just yeah, it was bad, very up and down, and kind of feel like I had like this like stirring in my soul to kind of like to break free, I suppose, of that. And I had moved to LA, and he had too, and I had, at this point, I had been living with him, and then had decided to live with my parents, just to really see if he even liked it in LA, and then kind of go from there. And we were starting to build back up again, and it seemed like things were going well, but at the same time, like I had this like kind of question mark in my head of like, all right, could there be better? And I had had the same thing for like why I even went to LA. There was something in my mind that was kind of like, I love Nashville, I love the community I've created here, but I feel like I am ready for something bigger, and it's scary because nothing bad's going on here, like things are still happening, but I had an opportunity to be in a movie and do the soundtrack for it, and that was really
Oh,
incredible,
I
and
didn't
actually
know
opened my
that. Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
what did
um,
you do?
it was a Hallmark movie called Love, of Course.
Oh, how cool is that? I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was so fun, and that was such a great experience. Again, like breaking out of the comfort zone. I had never acted in my life, and I was really blessed with the opportunity to get that role and to work with really incredible people. And it kind of just like woke me up though to the idea of like, okay, there definitely is more, and there are more opportunities, and I've got to, I've been wanting to go to California again as an adult because I hadn't, you know, stepped into my career there. I mean, I'd been going back and forth, I suppose, but I hadn't been there full time, and I was just kind of I felt called to, and so kind of took that leap of faith, and then after that took another leap of faith, which was ending that relationship, and um, you kind of that's kind of how it works. I was so scared to leave Nashville, because I just I thought, well, what else is going to fall away? And it turns out, yeah, more things do fall away, but it's trusting that process and that it's for the best, and also nothing's permanent. I was like, I could still go back to Nashville. You know what I mean? Realizing that like there's no bad decision here. It's just a decision. And trying something new. And so that kind of kickstarted this sort of spiritual awakening for me, and gave me also the time right around, because it was at COVID, where I realized that I needed to like really be alone and for the first time in my young life, as a young adult life, and figure out like what it was that I wanted and like who I was. And so I began that journey and started writing affirmations down, and started journaling and writing gratitude lists, and just and manifesting things, because I also too had become really fascinated with people's personalities and personality types, which got me into astrology and seeing the connections there. And oh my gosh, why am I attracting, as I was figuring myself out, like why am I attracting these people, and who do I want to attract, and blah
And,
blah blah, right?
and I'm just gonna jump in there. That that is so much ownership, and I love that you know, because so many people just blame everyone and go like, "Oh, my life, this keeps
Right.
happening, and why is it, you know, why?" And for you to be like, "I am attracting this," you
Yeah.
know, that is like so big. And when that happened for me too, I was like, "Ah, well, the good news, I mean, the bad news is I created all this,
Right.
but the good news is I can reverse it. You know, I
Right.
have power. I have the creative power
Mhm.
to. But
Mhm.
I don't want to interrupt. So to keep it, like, I love this so much. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. No, and I mean that's the thing is like I had to realize like, well, why do I, why do I feel like? And for me, I've always been the person that's like, well, I see this person's potential, and very much an
Yes,
optimist, and that's not
yes,
a bad way to be, but it is when you become like a martyr in a relationship to where it's like, well, I know that I deserve better here, or even like I want better, or I want different, or I want more. Not that this person's bad, but like could there be more here? And then kind of realizing that like, yeah, well, then I have to like go and see if there's actually more. I've got to believe that there is, and if this person is meant to be in my life, then they will still be there if they are it, right? um but first and foremost, like I have to look at myself, and why I feel the need to change this situation, I guess, and start pouring that love like back into myself, because I was just so exhausted at that point in that relationship. I just felt dead inside, and quite frankly was like, I got to a point where I just felt like sick at night, because I love this person, but I realized that like I couldn't make the relationship be what I wanted it to be, and too much had happened, and I, could pour as much love. It could keep pouring that love, but at the same time, like I couldn't necessarily change how he either viewed himself, or how just any of that. And if I was trying to change it, like, okay, then I'm not loving the relationship for what it is, and that's not good either, right? And so anyways, yes, became obsessed with the personality thing, and figure out what I wanted to attract, and then slowly but surely kind of started pinpointing the things that brought me joy every day, and started doing them again, started writing by myself again for the first time in a long time, um, and taking the time to do that, going on daily walks and taking the time to do that, because it brought me happiness, cooking, and learning how to just like be in tune with the present moment, because so much of, one, my personality, but two, my career, it's you're constantly forward, moving forward, looking forward, looking at, like managing a million things at once. You feel like time is running out, like it's what it is. And so yeah, I really had to teach myself like how to just like at, be still, really, and be okay with being still, and actually like enjoy it again. And that kind of helped me just open up, I think, and really be able to manifest the things that I wanted, because I was pouring that love into myself. So it naturally like attracts. And I kind of was like reached a point where I was like, well, screw it. Like, what do I have to lose if I say this out loud or if I write it down? Like, literally, okay, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But like, what if it does? And I think like the what if it does became like my whole thing. Like, what if there is better? Okay, well, that's fun. That's a fun idea. Let's like lean into that. Like, let's pretend that it's already happened,
yes.
basically. And then when I just started seeing like just crazy things unfold, whether it was like manifesting my song on the radio, or something very simple that was just like mind blowing to me at the time, like I mean, it freaked me out, but it also was like, wow, like this stuff is real, like no doubt it's real. And so obviously was, as I was like on that journey, was writing songs, and that kind of was building up the EP that I just released, and then the one that I'm about to release. And it's funny too, because as I was doing that, I knew that I wanted to, of course, like be in a relationship again at some point, but I didn't want to go out there like looking for it like intentionally. And so I kind of just put it out there that eventually, like, I wasn't going to intentionally go on dates. If it, like, somebody popped up and they seemed like a great fit and they asked me on a date, maybe I'd be open to it. We'll see. Like, you know what I mean? And was kind of manifesting this person. And the first time that I ever played the songs live, like my first show after COVID, was a night that, like, my now boyfriend was, like, in the audience. And yeah, and like, it was crazy. And even that kind of just showed me, okay, well, we're always exactly where we're supposed to be. Had I not gone through X, Y, and Z, had I not gone through this experience, getting to know myself and figuring out what I wanted and writing this material, like, I wouldn't have that material to sing on that stage, and he wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, oh, this all kind of ties together. Um,
100%.
and it was 100% worth it. But if you would have asked me, like, a couple years ago, okay, like, you're going to be with, do you think you're going to be with somebody completely different and blah, blah, blah? Like, it'd be like, I don't know. No. So yeah, that answers your question in a very long-winded
Oh
way.
my gosh, yeah, I love like the way you think and the way you express. It's like
Thank you.
couple of things that you said like really stuck out to me, and the word pretend you mentioned, like why not pretend? I love that word because to pretend is to the word tend is to tend to something,
Yeah.
and pre is to pretend, like act as if it happened, like
Right.
pretend.
Yeah.
And like what, why not? And
Right.
just the imagination in general,
Mhm.
to imagination, to image your life and to
Right.
embody that. And I went through a similar thing. We have a lot in common, the whole like be still.
Mhm.
I had went through that whole like chase of like the next thing in my life or my career, whether it was relational or career wise. And I went through this thing where I quit like everything.
Yeah.
And I was just, I mean, I was in school and I quit my job. Like I would quit listening to like other podcasts, and like it was like I just shut it all out to like really get in tune with like what God was saying inside,
Right.
and recognizing that voice and being able to like recognize it from all the other chatter and maybe the
Mhm.
outside sources or different things, and to really be able to trust
Yeah.
that like intuition. And I
Yeah.
mean, you're so prophetic, like oh my God,
Mhm.
like I could just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of your major. And
Mhm.
but trusting that and learning to trust that and having the confidence to trust that and pretending and
Mhm. Mhm.
really embodying the now. And
Yeah.
like stress by really is living in the future or the past and not
Right.
not
Right.
sitting in that. But it is, for me anyway, I and maybe everybody, um a little bit of an opportunity again
Yeah.
to just like stay. And I remember like I'm not a big scripture person. I mean, I went to Bible school and seminary like you, and then
Right.
had my whole like revolution of what God means to me in a different
Mhm.
way kind of deal. And I do remember the scripture that says, be still and know that I'm God. And then it was like, be still and know. And then it was like, be
Yeah.
still. And then it was like, be. And I'm like,
Yeah.
be?
Yeah.
How do you freaking be? Like
Yeah.
what's that? Because I'm such
Yeah.
a doer and like thinker.
Me too. Me too.
Like I'm a like performance,
Yeah.
like all of these like stupid programs of like literally unconditional love,
Yeah.
like needing to perform to get rewarded and to be
Yeah.
loved,
Right.
instead of
Right.
just like being loved because I am,
Here I am. Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's literally it. And whether you're looking for a love or you're looking for the right job or whatever it is, like, it's like you have to be the one. Like, because if you know what I mean, if I'm not pouring into myself what I expect somebody else to pour into me, like, how does that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would they if I'm not? And
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, if you're not taking the chances on yourself, like, no one is in a way that's gonna, I feel like, not create some sort of codependent situationship where it's like you feel like you desperately need them now. Because the thing is, like, when you get to a place like where you're actually feel that wholeness and security within yourself, and not to say that like you're fully healed, no one, I don't think, ever is, but like, you're a lot you're a lot easier to trust, like letting things go and flow away from you and to you. And it's just kind of like, all right, like I don't, and you appreciate things more too, I feel like, like I really appreciate, when I meet a great friend, or I have a conversation like this, or my relationship now, and even the tiniest little things, you just have this like immense amount of appreciation for those little moments of like love and
Yeah.
light in the present moment. Because you can see them, we get so distracted when we're constantly like in the past, where we're moving forward and only looking forward, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I think too, like some of the world programs, or whether it's like a religious program or just a human program, I think that especially, and I don't know if I made this up, but women in general, or people in
Mhm.
service of some kind, whether it's like a spiritual service or just whatever, it's like um, to love everyone else to the point of you being nothing, like that martyr thing of just like, got to
Yeah.
take care of everyone, got to do everything,
Oh yeah.
and I had realized like I was serving to the point of
Mhm.
like being sick, like
Yeah.
literally. And a
Mhm.
lot of people in healthcare and
Yeah.
different positions will just give, 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 and like they have nothing. And I got really sick too, and
Mhm.
had that situation where I was like, I came to kind of a crossroads. It's like I gotta either like pour into me and love me despite my performance
Right.
and my, because I wasn't even able to perform like work
Right.
or whatever, to be on the planet. Like,
Yeah.
and to me, it was such a big like aha of unconditional love, how I had even like put that on myself, like that I wouldn't even love me unless I was doing this and
Mhm.
this and
Right.
leaving that and doing all these things. And like, so
Mhm.
that I didn't realize I had put so many conditions even on myself, or
Mhm.
bought into that program.
Right.
And, seek ye first the kingdom of
Yeah.
God, and then all these things will be added, is
Mhm.
the real thing. Is, and
Right.
where's the kingdom? It's like right here. And
Yeah.
so if we could like train or educate people to like follow those unctions
Yeah.
within,
Mhm.
to take the steps. So like I picture like a Kleenex box, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, how do we get to the end? Like, how do we get to the thing? It's like just
Right.
take one out at a time, and then the next
Yeah.
one will pop up. And it's, but those steps and that courage to just like stay
Yeah.
and be,
Yeah.
and just follow those little tiny like breadcrumbs, and like
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
worry about the how, not worry about like, well, what if
Right.
this and what if that? And like, because mentally, gymnastics wise, like that's so
Yeah.
much energy, instead of just being like resting and God, I trust God, and God's got this in me,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
got this, and I'm here for a reason, and I'm
Yeah.
born for this, and
Mhm.
you're born for this, girl. Like
Mhm.
you are so in your space, like
Yeah.
you are just a bright light,
Aw,
and
thank
you just
you.
ignite people like everywhere you go, and everyone you touch, and everyone you speak to, and just it's so lovely to watch someone like you like literally embody
Aw,
truth and
thank
love,
you.
and just share your heart and your
Mhm.
experience, and to express only the way that you can, because no
Yeah.
one can do it like you. Like if you were missing and you weren't doing this,
Yeah.
what people wouldn't get the keys that you have,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's,
Well,
it's
thank you.
so beautiful
Mhm.
to watch what you're doing, and to just like be a little person on the side that gets to see and feel like
Yeah.
what you're doing and how you're expressing, and the healing that you
Mhm.
provide, and just the
So
love. And just I love your twin flame thing, because when I did the same thing, and I like really pulled back and focused and
yeah.
really started loving myself and self-care, and like not feeling guilty about it finally,
Right. Right.
it's like, God, I feel so guilty, like getting a
Yeah.
massage or just like spending time reading or whatever. It's like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with me? Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But that's
Exactly.
when my love came too.
Yeah.
And he was a boyfriend that I was with 5 years in my
Yeah.
high school, college years.
Yeah.
And he was finally back. And,
Uh-huh.
but he couldn't hear me. Like the vibe wasn't there for him to even find me
Right.
because there was so much hate and chaos and self
Right.
self, hate and, but
Yeah.
when I could clear that and
Right.
radiate, like prove love
Mhm.
to myself by
Yeah.
these actions,
Right.
that's what sent the vibration to like send a signal for him to be
Yeah.
like, okay, it's okay
It's
to come back.
time. Yep.
And,
Yep.
that was
Mhm.
a big, huge thing, and that still is a big thing, and I think
Yeah.
some people are so busy, like, on the apps looking for their guy,
Mhm.
looking for their girl, like,
Yeah.
da 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 da, that drive, and it's like,
Mhm.
but I love how you were just like, "You know what? He'll come,
Yeah.
and it'll be," and then you just, like, almost gave it up, and you're like,
Mhm.
"I'm just gonna do this song," and
Yeah.
there he appears, you know? It's like
Literally though, it's like that's exactly what I said like before the show. Like I was just like, you know what? All right, well, God is perfect timing. I gotta trust that this is all happening for a reason. Like I was super discouraged and but trying to find gratitude and trying to figure out what everything meant. And then yeah, I didn't even want to get on stage that night and kind of was like, well, I'm gonna do it anyways. Like screw it. I like worked this hard and I did and he was there and so it's just that's proof in itself. And I remember even before that kind of reminding myself like, well, if I exist, then like they exist, like it must be possible. And so, kind of another kind of reminder to embody what it is that I wanted. And like it was already there because, therefore, like I'm proof that it can happen. And I was like, I got to be my own reminder that it can happen, right? Oh, I just almost fell out of my chair. Um, but yeah, it's pretty wild and it's something that you like I mean I have to continually like remind myself of in this industry to stay grounded and level headed and to keep going. And it's conversations like this that help reinforce that continually too, because it's like, oh well, this song doesn't have millions of streams on Spotify still, like, and you're just like, why? And you see other people, and so it's so easy to get discouraged, and forget that it is working. It's working how it's supposed to, and if I believe that it's meant to be, then I've got to let go of the blocks that are there because it's not necessary because I'm convincing myself that it's not here yet. you know?
Oh, sorry. And all the things, like, before all of that
Mhm.
too, in my case anyway,
Yeah.
it seemed like it wasn't happening, it wasn't happening, wasn't
Mhm.
happening, and yet I picked up so much on the way that
Yes.
I'm using now. Like,
Yeah.
everything, even though it doesn't look like
Mhm.
it's like it's still important,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and and just
Blessings
being
in
okay
disguise.
with
Mhm.
with the like, not being so driven for the destination, but enjoying
Mhm.
all the steps, like when you went to Nashville or whatever,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I learned a lot and that's cool. And I'm going to take this to the next place. And,
Yeah.
and just building on
Mhm.
all of that. And even the energy of Nashville or the energy of the different places that you went that are now in your field, like
Yeah.
forever, that
Mhm.
accumulate into this beautiful soup of like energy radiation,
Sure.
affect people and touch people. And
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Well.
but if you have any, like, two more things, and I know you
Mhm.
got to go, any like words of encouragement for where people are right now to step into their
Mhm.
dreams, embody their dreams, to live their soul
Mhm.
mission, their purpose,
Yeah.
and then tell us where we can find you, and so where people can connect with what
Mhm.
you're doing and your work. And
Yeah.
I just want a lot of people to flood all your stuff and
Yeah,
uh,
thank you.
love
Thank
you
you.
so much.
No, I love you too. Yeah, I would say first and foremost, like to anybody who's either maybe feeling stuck or scared to go after their dreams, or their goals or take that first step. And it's of course it's always easier said than done, but trying to let go of these expectations. You know, something might not obviously like let's say even it could be a simple example or you want to start selling your paintings like yeah at first you might not be making millions, or whatever. You want to write a book, you might not have millions of copies sold at first, but you're still like enjoy the process of writing the book. Like all it starts with you, and that's the first step, is literally just like doing it, because if it's not there, then no one can have it. Then it can't reach those people if it just doesn't exist at all. And so kind of like, yeah, letting go of what you think it's supposed to look like, and just again allowing it to be like what it is. Always we get so caught up of like, well, it's going to be such a failure if not everybody buys this, or whatever, it doesn't go viral. And it's like, all right, well, I hear you, that would be really cool if it goes viral, but that should be the bonus, and trusting that, okay, well, if it's meant to go viral, like it will, in its own time. And not to say you don't put in work to make that happen, potentially, or whatever, not make it happen, but put it out there at least. But you got to start somewhere, and otherwise it's not going to happen. And it's so cool to hear people that have had really amazing stories where they just were like, you know what, screw it, like I'm going to take the risk. And they were just like a mom or something, and they wanted to start a jewelry business or whatever it is, and they just started with like a piece of jewelry, or getting the supplies and putting it up on Etsy. It's like you really just don't know what could happen if you don't go for it. So that's, I guess, my biggest piece of advice. I think we're all creatives in our own right, even if we don't make art. But you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. You're the only one, literally the only person stopping yourself, and you don't need to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in something at first. Just start small, and again, let go of those expectations. And I think it's crazy to see kind of where it can lead. So that's the first piece of advice. And you can find me on ChloeCaroline.com. I'm on Instagram at Chloe Caroline, TikTok I'm Chloe Caroline, Twitter at I'm Chloe Caroline. I'm everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. You just search my name. I have my phone number in my bios too, and it's actually me. But yeah, if you want like real-time updates, or just talk to me one-on-one, I'm also there. And I have my own podcast as well called Unwritten. And so
I didn't know that either. Cool.
Yes,
What is it about?
yeah, so I co-host it with my friend Shauna Petruno. She's actually in Canada, and she's an amazing person, and she's a model and basically skincare expert as well. But we just hit it off on our spirituality and kind of aligning there. And so, yeah, we decided to kind of start a podcast. I mean, that's a perfect example too. It was something that like I'd wanted to do for a really long time. And I just love having these like real conversations. And I kind of was like, who's to say that like your neighbor doesn't have the best piece of advice, but doesn't ever have a platform for it? They never get to talk on it. And so the whole concept is like, we pick a topic, and she and I talk about it for the first part. The second one, we choose someone, and the third one is always like self-nominated, or somebody else nominates them, and it can be literally anybody. And so, yeah, that was kind of the concept. But
Wait. So you guys get on, and then you just pick a rando to be on the show with you?
Kind of. So we'll pick a topic, like let's say whatever. It's overcoming obstacles was one of our recent ones, and so
what was the last one?
Overcoming obstacles.
Oh, cool.
Was kind of the theme. And so she and I, for part one, we kind of have a conversation about it, and that's an episode. And then part two, we will bring on somebody that we want to bring on to talk about their obstacle that seems like a good fit. And then the third one will be somebody that DMs us, or let's say somebody knew about you and was like, she would be perfect. Like, and then we reached out to you. I mean, it can be anybody, it can be your grandma, like whoever has like a story, or advice, or just wants to share. And so that's kind of what it's all about. And it's very loosey-goosey. We don't edit literally any of it, which I wanted. And for me, like personally, that made it a lot more enjoyable to not have it be, I don't know, there's just so much going on in my career otherwise. Like I was like, this should just be something fun, and like I literally don't care if it's like one person listening or 1,000 people listening. So I just wanted to have my own podcast. And so I had been on hers and we kind of just hit it off. And I was just like, would you ever want to do this with me? And, you know, I kind of realized it would probably be easier on me at the moment if I had somebody who was in it with me. And, you know, not to make it like a codependent situation, but it definitely like whatever, it would be fun. And I loved that we could have these conversations, and it was on different coasts and whatever. And so, yeah, so we kind of just had started it.
That's so cool. And remind me again what the name of it is.
It's called Unwritten.
Unwritten. I love that. That's so cool. I'm going to have to find that. As soon as I get off, I'm going to be looking for that for sure.
No, please do. That'd be
awesome. So cool. Well, I love this. I love everything about this conversation, and I just appreciate your time. I know how daggone busy you are and like all the things that are on your plate every day, and just really, really appreciate you taking time to hang out with us today. And I definitely encourage you guys, go check her out, go find her website, go to her music, see what she's doing. She's such an inspiration. And I just, I'm glad we finally got to find a time that we could connect. And I look forward to, you know, where this goes or whatever. And, appreciate you. I hope you have a great whatever you're doing. And tell me too, what do you got coming up? Like what's in store?
So I mean, man, last year I released like 9 singles and an EP, and so I've got 2 more left, 2 more singles left before the part 2 of the EP comes out, and it's called The Awakening Volume 2. The Awakening.
Wait, what is it? Awakenings?
Yeah, The Awakening Volume 2 will be the second EP, and The Awakening Volume 1 is already out. And so, yeah, I've got 2 more singles and then that EP, which will be really exciting. So that'll be coming out this spring. And then some collabs and features that are coming out, which will be really fun too. And something I've wanted to do for a while now with other artists and producers. And what else? I mean, shows, merchandise, definitely the year of merchandise. I've been wanting to do that for a minute. It's been a long time since I've had merchandise. So I'm really excited to launch that. What else?
Cool.
Yeah, lots of different irons in the fire.
Constantly creating. You're just like a creator on speed here. I love it. And that's so inspirational. Like I hope you guys are watching and listening and feeling this and just doing whatever you're supposed to do in your neck of the woods, and you know, like just feeling it. Definitely find her on all the social media platforms and be watching for what she's doing. And you'll have to come back sometime. Maybe we'll have you on a panel or do something else fun.
Please. Yes, I would love that. Any opportunities there. This is what it's all about for me. So thank you for helping me continue to I guess align with that mission.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, and you guys can find me at drsharnael.com. All the stuff there. There's several playlists too on YouTube, where there's lots of teaching stuff about all the geeky science, spiritual stuff. Lots of fun things if you guys want to check that out. And we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. So you can always find us here. And thank you guys for watching. We love you guys, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Talk soon. All right. Bye. Thank you.